In the Pikmin series, all of the astronaut leaders we play as hail from varying home planets scattered through space. However, all of the gameplay in the numbered entries takes place on a foreign landmass, a lush, ocean-covered planet. This landmass is a planet called PNF-404 by Pikmin 3 and Pikmin 4, and text from these two games confirms all numbered Pikmin games have occurred on this same planet, with a new unifying name once Pikmin 3 rolls around.
They mobilize to investigate the planet, which they name PNF-404.
Not much is known about PNF-404 and records of the spacefarer astronauts, and although it is never explicitly said in-game, there is overwhelming evidence that Pikmin takes place on Earth. However, there's a lot of evidence that throws this into question as well. Today, I'm joined by constant channel collaborator and Pikmin guru DavoGato to answer the question, does Pikmin actually take place on Earth? Introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, I'm DavoGato. It's wonderful to be here again. Thank you for inviting me back. Let's talk about PNF-404 and Earth and what this all means.
First, let's take a look at some of the evidence sourced directly from the games that support the theory that Pikmin takes place on Earth.
The landmasses of the Pikmin planet, when viewed from space, are identical to the continents in the real-world Earth. Well, except for Pikmin 3, that is. Pikmin 3's Earth resembles scientific models of how our real-world continents could rearrange in the future.
This little detail is a clear effort from the developers to make the world of PNF-404 similar to our own, but yet distinctly alien by being so many years in the future that the continents have shifted. It's a neat little bit of world building.
It seems the landmasses also change in how much human activity is present between games.
PNF-404 on its surface is already an Earth-like planet, just based on its biomes, seasons, and locations. That being said, what makes most people believe that the Pikmin planet has to be Earth is the sheer volume of human objects that can be found. Old structures, old items, old dentures. I mean, there's a ton of human ruins in the first 3 Pikmin games, and Pikmin 4 seals the deal with a human house that seems to have all sorts of active, modern, human stuff in it. But Vantage, I hear you saying. Maybe this stuff belongs to something that isn't human, like, you know, an alien that lives like humans and has the same pets as humans based on the dog portraits, and has human teeth, because again, dentures! Yeah, no, it's pretty obviously human stuff, and there's no two ways about it. The house in Pikmin 4, all of the treasures, all of the fruits, they come from Earth, right? So I guess that's it then, right? I mean, clearly, this is our planet, millions of years in the future, and that's that. Case closed. I am, of course, kidding. There's a lot more to this, as you can probably tell from this video's length.
These landmasses, changing from game to game, handle different levels of decay and human activity. Why do they change from game to game? What's going on here? How could the Earth look like our real-world Earth, and then look like the future, and then look like our Earth again? What's going on here? Why does it keep changing? Where's the consistency?
Another similarity between our Earth and PNF-404 is its atmosphere, which is explicitly said to be made up of oxygen, or should I say, poisonous oxygen. Olimar's spacefaring species cannot breathe oxygen. Us humans obviously breathe oxygen, but it's lethal to Olimar's Hokotation kind and his other spacefaring neighbors. A notable exception to this is the space dogs, who can breathe just fine.
However, in Pikmin 3 and 4, it appears that some non-Hokotation spacefaring peoples, like the cowrites, for example, can breathe larger amounts of oxygen than Olimar species can. However, it's still lethal in large amounts, so for the sake of all their safety, they must wear helmets.
Pikmin 1 and 2 take place on the same areas on the same map, but they clearly have changed over time. This is pointed out directly by the Japanese official Pikmin Garden website. The website states, framed through the lens of a theory proposed by Chet, one of the castaways from Pikmin 4, that the planet may actually be a living organism that morphs to the needs of the observer. And of course, our characters would be that observer in question in every single entry.
Pikmin 1, 2, and 4 make it very clear we are exploring a small area, very small, in search of our objectives, with our world map being a single panoramic view of an area in Pikmin 1 and 2, or an aerial shot of a small area of a neighborhood in Pikmin 4. Pikmin 1's background appears to take place in a place in Japan. However, we explore only small areas of these forests. Pikmin 3, strangely enough, has our areas labeled by continent, which is weird given the scale of the game. We're still tiny explorers, yet we explore an entire continent for only a little fruit in one spot? At a certain point, our leaders are told in Pikmin 3 that there are no fruits left to collect.
This is really weird because, well, there's only 30 types of fruit in Pikmin 3 and 66 total fruit, despite the fact that we're exploring entire continents now, and these areas are definitely not the scale of entire continents. They're much, much smaller given the scale of the main characters, so something's not adding up.
This is clearly bonkers, because on a planet as lush as Earth, there were definitely more fruit than 30 types of fruit, and there would be more fruit than 66 individual fruits. That's crazy! The Earth has more fruits at any given time than that!
The morphing planet theory, however, does offer an explanation. When these characters go to explore these areas, their objectives are laid out before them by the planet. The planet is providing fruit, providing the ship parts. Everything is localized in one area. The treasures, everything. And there's only enough that these leaders can get exactly what they need and then leave. The planet is morphing to the needs of the explorers. Either that or it's an arbitrary game design decision, which is, of course, what I thought in the first place until I saw this bit on the website. Then it really got me thinking, was this an intentional lore choice? And this may be an intentional lore choice in retcon to explain these plot holes. It could mean that this planet is actually some sort of entity that is more powerful than it seems at first glance.
It sure is strange how leaders in all of the games that are numbered seem to find exactly what they're looking for, exactly where they crash land or discover. It's always so localized, it's really odd.
And this isn't the only sort of odd shifting that happens throughout the Pikmin games. The early Pikmin games seem to imply that humanity is extinct, but as we go on in the series, this becomes more of a debate.
The Pikmin series is no stranger to human-like creatures. The Pikmin are human-like, and so are the explorers, like Olimar. However, we don't see any humans in the Pikmin series of numbered games. 1, 2, 3, and 4 may have human remnants, human objects, or human trash, but no actual humans appear in these games. In fact, we don't even know if humans are on the Pikmin planet anymore. Or if they once were, what happened to them? It seems they're gone. Or they left in a hurry. Or their Pikmin are the only thing left of them. It's very strange, and there are no clear answers. However, in today's video, we'll take you through what we do know about humans and the Pikmin planet.
The nature of the human ruins is also super inconsistent throughout the games. In Pikmin 1, they're barely visible. In 2, we have a lot more human stuff, with collecting treasures being the main focus. In 3, it's a lot more sparse again, but then we have things like the data gluttons, which are still working cellular devices. And then in Pikmin 4, well, we have a whole human house to explore. Are these just different sections of the same planet, different regions that have different levels of human development? The games say a lot of different things about the leftovers of humanity, and the games seem to imply that humans may or may not be there at the present moment.
The Pikmin series is full of human remnants. Caves like the Seafloor Resort and the Mud Pit take place in a man-made tabletop habitat, resembling a pet shop, an aquarium, or an aquatic interactive exhibit like a touch tank. Could an infestation of humanless pets and creatures have led to them appearing in urban areas, and also indoors?
Could this explain several of the enemies that you face? Some of them, for example, the Wallyhops being pet frogs at some point, or the ancient Sirehound once having been a human pet?
Humanity left an imprint on this planet, and there's human remnants everywhere. The Sci-Hound sure is interesting, isn't it? It has a collar, despite the fact that there are no humans right now, or at least not in the Pikmin games themselves. There doesn't seem to be human activity in the same way there was in our time. So how did that collar get there? How is that dog still alive? So many questions about human remains.
And this, of course, poses other questions about other forms of life on PNF-404, aside from the wildlife you battle.
If the PNF-404 wildlife types are former human companions, could it be possible that Pikmin themselves are human companions in the Pikmin universe? Former human companions who walked alongside people? This is mentioned seemingly by a dream of Olimar on the Japanese website. In report number 10, during the events of Pikmin 3, Olimar mentions having a dream of large human-like creatures walking with Pikmin.
If you'd like to know more about this, please check out the video linked in the iCard now.
We talk about it more in depth there.
With the semi-recent edition of Pikmin 4, we get to explore a human house for the first time in the series, the Hero's Hideaway. Though it's not the first human-touched area in the series, with house foundations left in the perplexing pool in Pikmin 2, for example, it is clearly the most human-influenced area in the series by a large margin. The area contains suitcases and travel bags, packed and ready to go, but for going where?
A modern LED TV is featured.
There's a framed photograph of real-world dogs that can be found in our time, and in addition, a puzzle that when put together also shows a real-world dog.
With no cobwebs and a mostly pristine, man-made surface on every single thing in the Hero's Hideaway. There are caves in desks and on shelves. Even the stovetop has a cave.
Going through the stove on fire is a way to enter a cave, and curiously, the burner is still on. There is an ice onion inside of the fridge, which is still powered and functional because it is cold.
Things like the luminols, landing spot crystals, various plants and wildlife, they're all thriving indoors, but the environment is still spotless.
How?
It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, surely the house would have burned down by now with that much fire coming out of the burner, right?
And the natural gas is still flowing after all these years? It's very strange.
Another weird occurrence inside of the Hero's Hideaway from Pikmin 4 is the Man-at Legs, a cyborg spider with a concussive cannon. I mean, what is that thing doing here? And surely the barrage from its attacks would have left a lasting impact on the home environment, but no, nothing.
Wildlife inside the house in general, what is it doing here? Pikmin enemies are just natural resources that show up in places, but they're also creatures, too. So what are they doing inside this pristine house? Vantage and I have been thinking about this for quite some time, and we think we have an answer. Could the creatures be housekeepers? Could they be taking care of the areas, keeping them pristine? Or could there be a creature out of sight we don't see? Could the creatures we do see be inspired by Japanese mythology, like yokai?
Yokai are a category of Japanese mythical creatures which contains several monsters that have been confirmed as an influence on existing Pikmin creatures by official sources, such as the infamous Umibozu, which inspired the water and plasm wraiths. Could more Pikmin enemies, or perhaps all Pikmin enemies, be based on these sorts of Japanese mythical creatures?
Could the house be kept in pristine condition as a way for any long-gone humans to return to perfectly?
The suitcases here may not be set up for people to leave. They might be packed and prepared for people to return, a people long gone, humanity.
That explains the fresh food, the beloved items, the familiar spaces, and the nostalgic elements. It's all made for humanity's eventual return celebration.
And all of the treasures have sparklium.
Whether it be a fruit or an object, sparklium's always present. It's very interesting. Maybe sparklium has something more important to do than just be a fuel source.
Maybe sparklium is tied to objects that have been touched by the yokai caretakers. Or maybe it's unrelated altogether.
Furthermore, the whole entire idea of yokai or creatures preparing a feast or a celebration for humans who return to the Earth, it ties in with another Japanese story about a dog waiting for people to return. One of the most famous dog stories like this is about Hachiko, the faithful dog. In Japanese culture, this is the story about a dog who waits for his owner to return, but the owner has long passed away. Yet the dog waits every day, hoping today will be the day. It is sad and tragic, but I wouldn't be surprised if it has a place in the thematic stories of Pikmin. It's kind of emblematic of the series, is it not? The planet's like that. Is it waiting for humanity to return? Not in vain, but every day with bated breath. Everything pristine and perfect, just in case today's that day.
Sparklium might be an element fabricated by the planet, just like the plasm wraith fabricates enemies in Pikmin 3, because, hear me out, the planet itself might actually be a wraith. There are so many elements of the Pikmin series that have this kind of theme to it. The Pikmin long for a leader, and once they have leafified somebody, that person longs to collect more leaders for the Pikmin species. They wait for people to return. As a matter of fact, there is a theory that has popped up that the Pikmin themselves may be a part of what causes the crashes, as they are trying to get a leader. They are waiting for someone to return to them.
There are so many interesting common threads that tie together in thematics in the Pikmin series. The idea of the Pikmin, the planet, the creatures, and the space dogs and earth dogs, thematically linking up. All with the idea of Dandori being a common theme, especially when it comes to the Pikmin. Furthermore, Dandorified creatures like the leaflings, or maybe even moss, seem to show an appreciation for human-made objects and their compulsion to collect them or take care of them in challenges. Even the sage leaf deals with human objects.
We don't know how old the sage leaf is either. We know that he's older than the current generation of leaders by some time, and we know that he has some deep-rooted connection to this planet at this point, but we don't really know anything about him.
We also don't know much about moss either. Is moss even real? Like, think about it. If the planet likes to make things or provide things that are strangely convenient, why is Moss saving Olimar at the right place in the right time? Could it be a coincidence, or could it be something orchestrated by the planet?
Olimar missed his family and his dog, so the planet may have fabricated Pikmin, small little things for him to care for, and a leafling pup, so Moss, to aid him when all was lost. Maybe Olimar is the key to the existence of the Pikmin. The planet fabricates Pikmin because Olimar needs to be a caretaker. On top of that, this is going to be a real crackpot one that I'm not sure is going to make it into the video. Maybe in Pikmin 4, Olimar's memories were fabricated by the planet to keep him engaged in returning to the planet over and over again. But the jury's out on that one.
It's still being discussed, but it is odd how Olimar talks about dreaming of his favorite carrot and onion soup, or how it resembles something from the planet he calls home. It's really weird how the Pikmin, carrot-like beings, and the soup he dreams of, carrots, and the onions he dreams of, are similar. Isn't that weird? I don't think it's reading into it too much, but it's weird how the Pikmin resemble Olimar's favorite vegetables.
It's interesting that Olimar, who has crashed on the planet, is dreaming about other timelines as well. Things that we know have happened. If the games are all in sequential order and the timeline is somehow unified, which I would like to say I'm not entirely sure is the case, and as a matter of fact, I lean against that being the case, considering there's so many inconsistencies in Pikmin 4, but if a lot of the memories of the castaways, and especially Olimar, are fabricated, it explains a lot of plot holes in that game.
The dreams that are present in Pikmin 3, Pikmin 1, and Pikmin 4 all seem to have entries that relate to other games that may or may not have happened. And the way Pikmin 4 and the Japanese website Pikmin Garden treat the canon and timeline is very, very tangled. Sometimes it appears that Olimar or other characters are mentioning events that have never happened, not yet happened, or once happened, all in a mixed up timeline. Sometimes Pikmin 4 looks like it's taking place before Pikmin 3, and other times it looks like it's taking place instead of Pikmin 1 and instead of Pikmin 2. And Olimar's dreaming of events that happened in the original 1 or 2. Also, weirdly enough, a lot of treasures, such as the music boxes, mention events that have not happened yet according to Pikmin 4. Things like Pikmin 3. It appears this timeline placement confuses a lot of fans, as well as us. We're not really sure of the answer yet. But there are elements of Pikmin 3 that have not happened yet in Pikmin 4, such as the Wraith encounter or the Copiate famine. It's very strange.
On a different note, we can see some sort of lineage to real-world dogs within the ancient Sirehound, which looks like a dog, acts like a dog, and also was able to use freakish elemental powers to attack the Pikmin, which is not like any dog I know. But, to be fair, I think it's supposed to be at least symbolically representative of real-world dogs.
Despite only having 2 legs, unlike our real-world dogs, the Pikmin series dogs have 2 legs, and Captain Shepard, as well as some of the other crew members, state that this dog has a relation. It seems that the space dogs, Ochi and Moss, seem to be ancestrally related to the Sirehound. By DNA sampling in the game, we learn that the cure is able to be created for Ochi because the Sirehound is so close in DNA. Could the ancient Sirehound be a great-great-great-great-great-granddog of Moss and Ochi?
As stated before, there's a bunch of real-world man-made objects that can be collected in the games. These include real-world Nintendo software and hardware, for example, a Nintendo Game Boy Advance SP.
There are also non-Nintendo hardware and software objects, such as the folded data glutton, which is a flip phone with a ferret photo on it. These might actually be ferrets belonging to someone from the development team, which is a wonderful Easter egg. However, those are mammals in my Pikmin game. Earth mammals from our time on one of our time's phones. A phone you don't usually see anymore, a flip phone. So how did this flip phone survive and have battery and a picture of ferrets on it to the time of Pikmin 3?
Especially if we're taking into account the shifting continents in Pikmin 3. Another interesting mammal is from the buddy display, the dog photo. Olimar's notes say, "What mysterious and fluffy creatures. I can't find evidence of them in any of the existing creature databases, but there's something familiar about them. It's almost as if I've met them before. I guess I'll chalk it up to an ancient memory that's been imprinted on my genome." That is a really, really weird anecdote. What do you mean, an ancient memory that's been imprinted on my genome? As far as I'm aware, I don't have any ancient memories of woolly mammoths in my genome or anything like that.
Let's put a pin in that one. That one's important for later, isn't it?
No, let's get to it now! PNF-404 is the shared Spacefarers Ancestral homeland by 2 accounts of canon info, the website, and Pikmin 4's logs. Take that, Davo!
You may be asking us, what do you mean ancestral homeland? Well, it's simple. If Earth is the origin point of humanity, and the Spacefarers are humans, all spread out throughout the universe, and those humans are being called back home by Earth, whether it be a unconscious signal or a ancient memory imprinted on their genome, thank you, Olimar, the idea is they are being called back home from across the stars, returning to the land where they once all came from. Ages ago, humanity existed on Earth and only Earth, and then they fled to the stars. Millennia have passed, and now Earth is calling them home.
We've seen a mechanism for this already, the various unexplained crashes in the Pikmin series. While Pikmin 4's official website seems to claim that the Umibozu theory may have something to do with these crashes, and that is most likely true, there may be a reason, a motivation behind these crashes other than just wraith stuff.
The idea of the Umibozu and the water wraith and the plasm wraith all being connected to the crashes is something we've discussed before. Please check out the video in the iCard if you'd like to learn more. The Pikmin website also proposes a theory by Chet that, perhaps, Earth is gone. The planet could just be a replacement or a shadow or a memory incarnation created by a manifestation. But could this memory manifestation be a wraith?
We've seen multiple mechanisms by which the planet has attempted to call home humans throughout the series. In Pikmin 1, the planet, through the mechanism of the meteor, causes Olimar to crash. We know this is something from the planet because of the Umibozu theory, which has recently been confirmed to be true. Additionally, we know that the planet has given off signals that have allowed other spacefarers to find their way there. For example, the Kopyates have sought the fruits on the planet to save their people. When they approached the planet, they also crashed and were brought home to Earth. In Pikmin 4, Olimar gave out a distress signal that, despite being intended for his rescue, brought way more castaways than just his rescue core to the planet.
Now for all two, me included, Hey Pikmin fans out there. Does Hey Pikmin take place in a separate world than PNF-404? The answer? We don't know. It could be PNF-404. It could be a separate planet altogether. All we know is it contains sparklium, human treasures and remains, and Pikmin. That's it. That's all we know. And us being the only two Hey Pikmin fans in existence, we can confirm we don't know.
So, a question. Why is this planet called PNF-404? I mean, compare it to planets in our solar system, Earth, Mars, or even real-world, unexplored planets. That's a rather strange name. Why do leaders have their ID come up as PNF-404 anyway?
Yeah.
It is theorized in the Pikmin community that this is a generated name because the planet itself cannot have a typical name. PNF-404 is a reference to a page not found error, error 404, on the internet. Except in this instance, it's planet not found, because the planet isn't actually a findable entity.
Is the planet trying to stay hidden from records and star maps? Pikmin 4 takes place before Kopai's search for fruit begins, as the Kopaiites like Don Bergman and York and Nell tell us in Pikmin 4. And Pikmin 4's leaflings always ping as PNF-404, as the biometric tells them. There's no variance to that. But in Pikmin 4, no one names the planet. It just starts pinging biometrically as PNF-404. Later, in Pikmin 3's opening, Kopai scans PNF-404 and names it PNF-404. But did they name it simply because that name is in their databases as a blank? Did they scan PNF-404 and it would come up as nothing? So, Planet Not Found 404. 404 is a common term, or a 404 page, for a website that does not lead anywhere, does not redirect anywhere. A missing page, a broken link. The entire idea that Earth was scrubbed, either intentionally or by time, from databases. And the Starfarers look at this planet, and there's nothing to be read. They don't have a name, they don't have a history, it's just Planet Not Found Error. And that's the name they chose, because that's what the database says.
PNF-404 is essentially a lack of a name. It's like looking in a spreadsheet and seeing that something is listed as N/A for non-applicable and thinking that NA is the value in that spreadsheet, right? It's using the word null as a name when null is saying that something is blank. The planet being called PNF-404 is the planet naming experience of looking at a sheet of paper that has a blank that says your name here and taking that to be the name. Hi everyone, my name is Your Name Here is a really stupid name, but, you know.
It makes sense. They would name it PNF-404 because their records say PNF-404 because there's nothing to be read.
It's an error, but it's not an error I think any of the intelligent creatures would recognize. Unlike Error 404 on the internet, it's not like you typically come across a planet that's also not a planet and breaks your computers. To that end, why is this happening? Does the planet of the Pikmin not actually exist?
Could the planet exist in a ruined, decrepit state? Or is it a shadow of the Earth that once was? Not the same land masses, but one emulating what used to be there. Kind of like the wraiths emulating other hazards or enemies, like in the formidable oak.
In the future, long after Earth has been destroyed by some sort of disaster, PNF-404 is merely its ghost. In fact, with Pikmin having a clear focus on supernatural entities like wraiths as a clear, important part of the series, and wraiths clearly being based on yokai, especially now proven by report number 10, which clearly states that the wraiths are based on the Umibozu, it poses the question, could the planet of the Pikmin itself be a yokai, be a wraith? Could it be a planet possessed, or a planet now alive and having a will of its own? A literal yokai the size of the whole world because it is the whole world? I mean, if Earth is gone, is this planet just a replacement, a shadow, or a recreation? by a wraith? Is it itself a wraith?
Report number 10 from the Japanese website Pikmin Garden has an answer for this. Chet proposes that one theory is that the planet meets the definition of a living organism, meaning that somehow it's beckoning them home, and that everything they experience on PNF-404 is being orchestrated. Perhaps, just perhaps, the planet changes based on its observer. Unlike the space-time of the universe we know, Chet states, it is believed that each time the stranded person observes the planet, it transitions to a different phase. The changes are so great, it's as if the planet itself has a will of its own. Things like the continents in 3, the continents in 1 and 2, and the continents in 4 not lining up all the time make sense if it changes upon every observer.
The PNF-404 we see shows Earth in times of pristine, past events, and it seems to suit the needs of the observers as mentioned before. Olimar needed his ship parts and help carrying them, so it provided Pikmin, and it provided a way for him to get home. The debt needed to be paid, and Olimar longed to see the Pikmin again, and Louis wanted food, so the planet sported tons of creatures, tons of treasures, and of course, more Pikmin than ever. The president accompanies the crew on a return trip to get rich, and the Wishful Wild has enough treasure to clear the debt easily in retrospect, though you're never able to get there and not have already paid off the debt. The Copiate's final probe, right when they were about to give up, finds edible Pikmin U-rich fruit on PNF-404, the final place they search to save their civilization. Each and every castaway, explorer, scientist, researcher, and individual finds and studies exactly what they came to PNF-404 to investigate in Pikmin 4. And we found Sparklium.
Report number 10 on the Japanese website also states how strangely convenient it is that the Pikmin and the things we need are always found exactly when we're looking for them and where we're looking for them. Very strange indeed.
Speaking of objects, I think the reason that the planet could be like this, could be a creature, or an entity rather, with an intelligence, is once again explained by the idea of Japanese mythology, of yokai. In Japanese mythology, objects can come to life if they're discarded or their keepers have passed away and no one's there to tend to them. In Japanese mythology, there is a concept of yokai, ghosts, that are made out of once cared for objects that have been discarded or left alone for over 100 years, called Tsukumogami, which are objects that have come to have a spirit of their own. Could the Earth, now devoid of humans, left as a discarded, once loved, once cared for object, now become a Tsukumogami? Is this what the wraiths are? Are they a remnant of the inhabitants of the planet? Is Sparklium a supernatural mechanism?
Is the concept of Tsukumogami true for the inhabitants of the planet, like the creatures and the wraiths? Or even the places in the world, the areas we explore? Would this also explain the Pikmin? They once served humanity as part Olimar's dream. And if humanity has become spacefarers, and Olimar and all the space helmet explorers are what's left of humanity, could the Pikmin listen and assist these explorers simply because Pikmin came to existence at the time of the original humans, and Olimar and the other spacefarers are the modern Pikmin Day human remains? They are the ancestral people now. Furthermore, report number 10 mentions that the wraiths are dreaming, possibly, of living with humans again, and are causing crashes intentionally because they miss humanity. And if this is true, the spacefarers are being pulled down to the planet because they are the long-forgotten humans who have been waited for to return. And not only do they return in spades in Pikmin 4, the items and objects and fruits and treasures all have Sparklium, because they're fabricated by the planet. The engines run on Sparklium in Pikmin 4, and it just so happens that not only are they nostalgic objects, possibly from the genome memories, but also because they're exactly what they need to leave. Just like the Plasm Wraith with the oak, the planet itself may be fabricating objects, experiences, creatures, and places all digging back into memories from what used to be humans, all without the spacefarers' knowledge. Then, when they enter that planet's atmosphere and are knocked down by an unknown force, in reality, it's just the planet, or the creatures, welcoming them home.
Or in summary, the Pikmin planet is and isn't Earth. Simultaneously. Whether or not it is the same landmass doesn't matter. It certainly has the same appearance. It may have a similar geographic location. It is probably physically the same landmass as Earth, probably in the same location, even though the continents may shift between games. However, the planet itself is, at the end of the day, a memory of what Earth was, and everything about it is designed to bring humanity back. It is a Tsukumogami. It is an abandoned object that longs only to have what it once had. Well, what do you think? Do you think the planet really is a Tsukumogami, a remnant of objects left alone by humanity? Do you think humanity really is gone? Do you think that this is the true state of the planet? Do you think it actually is Earth? Do you think it's not Earth? What do you think about the shifting continents? What do you think about the burner being left on the stovetop? Let me know what you think in the comments below. That being said, my name is Vantage Emblem. Thank you so much for joining me, Davo.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
Alright everyone, take care, and I'll see you in a bit. Thanks everyone. Cheers.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.